You ever walk into a place and know, right off the bat, nobody in there thinks you belong? I'm talking that feeling heavy as a sack of bricks before you even open your mouth. That's exactly what hit me the morning I walked into Holston Bank, just me, my old coat, and the same burlap sack I'd carried for years. The marble floor was polished up like a mirror, and all those fancy folks in their suits, laughing and whispering, yeah, I caught every look. Who let this guy in here? I heard someone mutter, and I just kept walking, my feet scuffing on that shiny stone, feeling the eyes burning holes in my back. Maybe they thought I was lost, or crazy, or just another old man with nowhere better to be. They had no idea. Truth is, I stood up tall and said, this bank is mine. Not a question, not a threat, just a fact. And you should have seen the way the whole room stopped. Every head whipped around, mouths hanging open. Then the laughter started. Loud, ugly, like a pack of hyenas. The security guards were on me in a heartbeat, yanking my arms behind me, shoving me toward the door. You're making a mistake, I tried to say, but nobody wanted to listen. Especially not Richard Holston, the branch manager. Slick gray hair, suit that cost more than my rent, face set in a permanent sneer. We don't serve your kind here, he said, loud enough for the whole lobby to hear. I didn't even get mad, not really. You live long enough, you get used to people trying to put you in your place. Now, let me back up a sec because I know how this sounds. Some old man claiming a whole bank. Yeah, that happened. But I'm telling you, this story goes deeper than marble floors and shiny suits. See, as security dragged me out, my sack hit the ground hard. Papers spilled everywhere. Not garbage, not cans, but thick yellow documents with official seals, notary stamps, gold ribbon, the whole 9 yards. The lobby fell dead quiet. A young teller Mariah picked one up, eyes wide. This is a property deed, she whispered. It's got his name on it. Ezekiel Carter. That's me. Holston tried to play it off, said the papers were fake, printed at the library. But even the old retired banker in the corner, hair silver as moonlight, bent down and said, these are real. That's the original Chase seal. Suddenly, the whole mood in the room shifted. The guards let go. I picked up my documents slow and steady, like I had all the time in the world. Then, wouldn't you know it, blue lights outside, police pulling up, sirens and all. Holston looked relieved. Now we'll deal with this properly, he muttered, but I wasn't worried. Not one bit. You ever see a man holding a key that's older than most of the people in the room? I pull mine from my pocket, brass worn smooth by 50 years of history. This is the master key to the original vault, I said. Holston turned a shade paler, tried to laugh it off, claimed it was a flea market trinket. But when I rattled off the vault's serial number and his daddy's birthday as the original combination, even the police hesitated. Mariah stepped up, hands trembling but strong. Officers, these documents look legitimate. Shouldn't we at least? Holston cut her off, threatened her job, but she held her ground. Takes guts, you know. In the end, the police had to let me keep my personal warrant. No way to touch them. But they still walked me out, whole lobby watching, phones recording. I turned at the door and locked eyes with Holston. You just threw out your owner, I said. Remember this moment. Yeah. I left with my head high, sack slung over my shoulder, walking out into a world that had changed and not changed at all. Now, you might be thinking, what's the point? Why not just give up after all these years? But you gotta understand, this fight started way back in 1963. Back when Thomas Holston and I stood shoulder to shoulder, opening Atlanta's first integrated bank. We had a dream: serve everybody, treat everybody with respect. For a while we did. But as the bank grew, Thomas changed. Pressure from aboard, the old money crowd suddenly, it wasn't our bank anymore. My name disappeared from documents, signatures forged, ownership transferred in back rooms while I was left standing outside. And when I confronted him, Thomas just shook his head and said, "Who do you think they'll believe?" Yeah, that hurt. But I kept going, built new businesses, invested smart, kept every scrap of evidence. Waiting, watching. Sometimes, the right person comes along at just the right time. Mariah called me that night, said she'd seen the truth in those papers, that she wanted to help. Next thing you know, she's meeting me at Lou's Diner, bringing her cousin David, a sharp young law student. We dug through decades of file stock certificates, old letters, even photographs of me and Thomas before greed ate him alive. Turns out, Thomas left a trail a mile wide, and I kept every piece. Problem is, power doesn't just give up. Charles Holston, the real boss Richard's uncle, summoned his army of lawyers, rolled out a media blitz painting me as a senile old man chasing ghosts. They found his sale agreement, swore up and down I'd cashed out for pennies and 65. For a minute, I'll admit, it looked bleak. Reporters turned, headlines flipped, the crowd that cheered started to whisper. But you know what? Paper remembers. I noticed a detailed witness in their photo didn't have the scar Thomas got in '64. Their whole case was built on lies. Mariah, David, and I went digging for a loophole, found one nobody saw coming. Safety deposit box 1857 sealed the year Thomas started plotting. My fees were paid for life, and that old brass key, it opened the vault. We gathered witnesses, lawyers, cameras, and headed to the Peachtree branch. The manager, seeing all our documents, had no choice but to let us in. Box 1857 held the real charter 51% in my name, original signatures, letters from Thomas admitting my majority stake, photos dated and stamped showing the real timeline, scars and all. We filmed everything, every signature, every official seal. Back downtown, we made our stand. News vans, cameras, customers packed the lobby. When Charles tried to grab a charter, the police were right there. Turned out, the FBI had been watching too. Arrested Charles and Richard on the spot: fraud, conspiracy, you name it. Me? I just sat there, holding the charter I'd waited half a century to see. When I walked out of that building, sunlight hit the brass letters above the door, and it felt like the whole city was waking up with me. Next morning, at a press conference, I laid it all out: how the Holstons stole my dream and tried to erase my name. Now, the bank was mine again, but I wasn't about to hoard that victory. Announced a $50 million fund for small business loans, scholarships, first-time home buyers, you name it. This place, I said, was built with dreams. Tom had started serving those dreams again. You could feel it in the room: hope, respect, maybe even a little awe. When I walked back into that lobby, folks bowed their heads, not out of shame, but out of something like real respect. The sack my grandma gave me Aunt's mocked now sat on the desk in my office, right where everyone could see. Mariah's badge read Senior Vice President. She smiled, told me, people are calling it the Dignity Fund. I just nodded. Dignity, that's what they tried to take from me. But they couldn't. Nobody can. End of the day, I looked out at Atlanta folks opening savings accounts, young people planning businesses, old-timers waving up at my window. Justice had taken its sweet time, but it came. Maybe that's the real lesson. You hold your head high, keep your receipts, and wait for the day when truth finally kicks the door down. Because it always does. You know what I mean? Now, I want to hear from you. Who do you think was right? Who was wrong? What would you have done in my shoes or Mariah's? Drop a comment below. Let's talk about justice, dignity, and what it means to really own your story. And hey, don't forget to share this tale if it moved you. Subscribe so you don't miss the next story. Because trust me, the fight for truth is never over. It just waits for the next person brave enough to walk through the door.